All right, so wanted to talk today a little bit about Mgtow monks are being, or I guess um, the mentality, the monk mentality, and why it's important. I think that we start to push ourselves more towards having a Zen state of mind, so to speak, um, being calm, basically, just being calm in stressful situations. You see, the problem with being angry all the time is that you're feeding into the system by releasing negative energy. When you release negative energy, you're feeding into the system because it's based on negative energy. So every time you get angry, you're releasing energy that goes to feed all the other negative things that are going on. So anger is a very potent thing, you know. Everything here has to do with energy, and emotions are a way of energy. So you have to be able to understand that your emotions are a way. It's like a gauge, and of different settings or whatever, and either way that you swing that pendulum, you're going to get a different result. If you're angry, you're more inclined to get into an accident or do something that you probably wouldn't expect to do because your emotional state of energy is in a different place. So, you see, you have to understand something, that the world is full of negatives. It's full of negative energy. There's negative stuff going on here all the time: killing, crime, war, all this stuff. That's just how this is. But if you're angry, you're working with it. You're allowing it to gain its power by being angry, and that's just one level of it. Now, the personal level of it, you're going to have much more of a stressful life if you're constantly angry about everything. You have to be able to be cool, calm, and collected in difficult and stressful situations, because the nature of how this place works here is that everything here is, there's nothing good here. Nothing good happens here. People do good things, but as an overall whole, there's nothing good that comes out of this place. So, because it's all strictly negative stuff going on here, you have to be able to be cool, calm, and collected. Because if you got angry and upset and emotionally stirred up every single time something happened, you'd be insane. And a lot of people do. A lot of people still allow that to happen. Most people do. And that's why people like the news organizations and outlets are able to get people so stirred up, is because they allow their emotions to run free without any kind of check. Yes, it's a human emotion naturally to get angry, but you have to learn how to control those emotions in the right situation. You know, this is why being angry all the time is not a productive thing. You have to be able to sit and be in complete. You almost have to be neutral. You have to be able to be emotionless, but be able to act emotion when necessary. In daily life, it's monotonous. You come and you go. You get up. You go to bed. You go to work. You pay your taxes. You have to do all these things that are very annoying and piss you off and cause a lot of distress. If you're not able to turn off those emotions that cause that every now and then you're going to go insane. Because you can't maintain that state of high energy all the time, because it will burn you out. It will burn you out. And most people quit certain things because it causes them to get angry. You have to be able to control your emotions. You have to be able to be in a monk state of mind, where with all this chaos going around, you still are able to stay centered and focused while everything else is going crazy. If you can do that, if you can work towards just being calm, you're going to have a much easier time getting through stressful situations. Whether it be work, whether it be life stress, whatever the case is, you're going to be able to deal with it better than the rest of the general public is going to be able to deal with it, because the general public and most people do not have their emotions in check. They don't know how to control their emotions. That's why a lot of behavior is a side effect of emotion. It's emotionally controlled. Your emotions will usually end up dictating your actions. So if you can control your emotions, you can control your actions. They both work hand in hand. And it's just an example. Because if you're able to do that, you're going to be able to think clearly. You're going to be able to be in a position that is going to allow you to make decisions and strategies that somebody who doesn't have their emotions in check are not going to be able to do, because their emotions are going to be controlling their actions and their thoughts, which end up triggering their reactions and their actions. So being in the monk state of mind is important. It takes a while to learn how to discipline yourself to get into a calm state of mind. It takes practice, because most people don't do that. Most people are not able to have the discipline to control those things because they're so used to it, and their whole life they have been emotionally led around. This is why the news puts out graphic stuff and horror and terrible stories 99% of the time. There's no good news. No news is good news. No news is good news. All the news that you see on the mainstream media is nothing but negativity. I have never in the last 5 years of my life have heard a bit of good news ever come out of any of the news channels. Why? Because their objective is to get you to be emotionally negatively reacting to what they're putting out, because it releases energy which feeds into the system. Because then they can manipulate you that way, okay? That's why you can't let your emotions get the best of you in difficult situations. And a lot of people are not able to do that because it's hard for them to be able to sit back while chaos is happening and sit there and be calm. It takes training. It takes practice. So if you're able to do that, you're going to have a much easier ability to figure out what to do about certain things, about how to get over certain kind of obstacles, and how to deal with day-to-day mundane existence. So, this whole red pill rage thing it has to go. I get it when you're angry for a while, but you can't let that happen all the time. You just can't. You cannot do it, because it'll drive you crazy and you'll end up making more mistakes in the long run because you don't have your emotions in check. This whole stuff on YouTube where people make response videos and all this other stuff, it's just feeding into the system. That's all it's doing. And so there's no point of me responding to negative comments or negative things like that, because I know it's just feeding into the system, you see? And it's just how the thing keeps going back and forth. Like I said, it all has to do with energy, because a positive is a negative. So the negative is just, it's feeding back and forth. It's arcing, which is what this whole, if you want to look at it from the occult perspective, the negative energy and all this other stuff that has to do with that, and why the news puts out what they do, is because it releases energy into the system, okay? That's how this works. That's why it's pointless to get mad at people who don't get it. It's pointless. You're just making yourself that much more frustrated. And so there's no point of getting angry or upset with people who say bad things to you or say something bad. There's no point in that. See, here's the other thing. You don't have time to be angry anymore. You just don't. There is no time to be angry. Angry and negative stuff will always exist as long as we are here, and how things work here in America and on Earth. It will never stop. So you will be caught up into the system of allowing it to control you, thinking that if you're angry in return and you fight back, that something positive will come out of it, when in reality you're just making it stronger, you see? So getting upset with people is pointless. It's frivolous. It's only going to take you so far before you burn yourself out, which is the objective. That you fold first and they get to keep going on, you see? It's a compromise. They want you to be completely out of control with yourself so that they can come in and manipulate that. So there's no point in being angry anymore. It's past that time. There's no time for that anymore. There's no time to be angry anymore. We have way too much work to do, improving ourselves and getting and maybe having a bigger purpose in life besides just being on YouTube talking trash to everybody. There's just no point in that. We have a very limited time here, and anything can happen. People get into accidents all the time. People, things happen, accidents happen, and things happen that shouldn't have happened. And if you're going to spend your whole life getting caught up in being angry with other people because they don't understand what you're trying to tell them, or they don't want to listen, or they're saying negative things, forget about it. Let them get caught up in their own mess, because that's exactly what they're doing to themselves, is they're just getting themselves caught into a web even further. So being able to have a calm state of mind while all this chaos goes around us on a daily basis is important. It's going to preserve your sanity, and it's going to help you deal and how to make decisions. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. I think it's important that we start to have a, if you want to take whether it be Mgtow or just improving your life to the next level, you have to be able to implement learning how to be calm. Learning how to work under stressful situations. It's important. I see a lot of people let their anger overcome them, and what ends up happening most of the time is that they end up realizing, well, gee, I'm in a worse position off than I was before, but I did all the right things. There's other sides of how somebody's behavior acts and how people end up allowing their behavior to control them, and it has to do with how you use your emotions and not letting yourself be emotionally run around. Whenever I see negative stuff on the news, oh, a child was killed, I don't care. I just don't care, because number one, I know how the news works. That's one story of it. But the other side of it is I know that it's just for your reaction. Everything is just for your reaction, because, that it's all about getting everybody upset and riled up. So whether you're just finding out about women or the feminist agenda, look, don't let women affect your emotions to the point where you're so pissed that you're willing to do whatever it takes for you to stop such a bad thing, because then you're manipulating. You're being manipulated, because it's already being set up against you. So there's no point in being angry about it. Just realize what's going on, make the correct decision, and move on. That's all you can do, and that's all you need to do. There's no need for any more anger or all this stuff. I understand it's a human emotion, but you have to be able to control those human emotions sometimes. Because everything here is designed for you not to be able to control yourself. Everything is designed for you to completely lose control, because when you lose control, you don't have control. And when you don't have control of yourself, you can be manipulated, and you're weak. Emotionally, physically. You ever been angry all the time? People get tired because it takes energy. You burn energy being angry all the time, or being stressed all the time. You just have to learn not to give a fuck anymore. That's what you have to do. Just stop caring about all of the useless, mundane dribble drabble. That's really how you have to conduct yourself. Whether you're learning about the situation that men face today, you just have to learn not to give a shit about what other people think, and do the best that you can. Realize what's going on, make the decision, and leave it at that. And that's what everybody has to do. Keep yourself in your own lane. Let other people deal with themselves in their lane. I do understand that, when you're, if you're keeping yourself in your lane, but the other person's not keeping themselves in their lane, and then they can hit you. I get that. But if you keep yourself in your lane, you have a much more control over the situation than other people who don't. These are just analogies that I like to use, because being angry and stressed all the time is like an out of control driver on the street. They don't have themselves in their lane. When you got your shit together and you're doing what you can, and you realize what's going on in your environment, in your area, and how you can use that to improve yourself, you got your shit together, and that's the best you can do. Don't worry about other people. Don't worry about other people. Other people are going to do whatever the fuck they want if they're not in control of themselves. And they're wild cannons on the loose, which triggers anger and frustration in people and a whole bunch of other myriad of other things. So the whole lesson of the story today is to basically get you to be in a more calm monk state of mind. You have to be able to just let your emotions go. And I don't mean out of control, I mean control them. Don't let yourself get emotionally reactive to absolutely everything. If somebody makes a video on YouTube or if somebody says something bad about you in the comment section, or whatever the hell you're doing, just ignore it. Just ignore it. You know, that whole saying, don't feed the trolls. It's because you're feeding it energy. You're feeding the system negative energy when you react negatively to a situation. So it's pointless for you to get angry with somebody. Pointless. Absolutely pointless. You're just making yourself in a much worse situation than the other person who didn't react. Because what has happened is that it has tricked you into exerting energy, making yourself stressed and tired, which makes yourself sick because somebody said something. You see how the manipulation works? So just leave your emotions out of it. Live your life in a calm way if you can. And you're going to have a much better off existence, so to speak. You're going to be able to deal with stressful situations much easier than the person who doesn't have themselves in their lane. So, I'm trying to think about if there's anything else I'd want to add to this. I think that was about it, but it's so important, you know, because it took me a while. Like I said, it takes discipline to be able to get into a kind of a monk mind. You have to be able to not let things affect you. You have to be able to live your life independently from allowing other people to say or motivate you to live a certain way. You have to be able to keep yourself in your lane. You have to be able to make your own decisions, whether or not they're popular with friends or family or not. Because in the end, you're in charge of your life. You're in charge of how you're going to exist, how you're going to make your money, what kind of job you're going to have, where you're going to live, what you're going to buy. That's your decision in the end. And you're the only person that can make that decision. People will try to motivate you to make certain decisions in life, but almost none of those decisions are ever going to be good for you. So you have to be able to operate solo. You have to be able to operate away from what everybody else is doing. You have to be a lone wolf, and you also have to be able to blend in. You have to be able to be in control of yourself at all times. You know, you have to be able to go against the grain, and sometimes you have to be able to go with the grain. The whole point is you have to know which decision to make at what point. And the way that you do that is being calm, because one side or the other, when the pendulum swings, whether it's to the left or to the right, if you're not in the center, you know, it's like you hit the golf ball too far the other way, then you have to hit it 3 times harder to get it back onto the right track. You see what I'm saying? So if you can keep yourself centered and don't let emotions pull you one way or the other way, and you keep yourself centered, you're able to not let influence, negativity, or any of those other things affect how your quality of life is going to be. Anyways, that's all I had to say today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a good one.